I'm a big fan of MMOs. I've tried World of Warcraft, old school RuneScape, I've played quite a bit of Black Desert Online, and I'm currently still playing Final Fantasy XIV. But the game that made me fall in love with the genre was Wildstar. And honestly, I would probably still be playing it to this day if the servers hadn't closed down in late 2018. But instead of just grieving about the loss of one of my favorite games, I figured I should make this video about it, as a sort of love letter to what the game was, and what it could have been. Alright, this one's gonna get a little personal. When I was in middle school, my parents got divorced. To give them a lot of credit, it wasn't a messy divorce. But when I heard the news, I was sitting at my computer, leveling in Wildstar. After that, I kind of sunk myself into the game. I didn't have a lot of friends at school, so most of the time I spent was by myself, either watching YouTube or playing video games. And it just so happened that Wildstar was what I was into at the time. So I leveled up, hit max level, and joined a guild. Warpigs, if you happen to see this, I definitely lied about my age, sorry about that. I didn't know what I was doing at all, but the community, while very small, was also very helpful and welcoming. So after talking with some people in my guild, they got me set up with some better gear and told me how I could get ready for raiding. And let me tell you, when raid night finally rolled around, I was nervous. Excited, but nervous. Luckily, I wasn't the only one new to that raid, so the more senior members were nice enough to walk everyone through each of the bosses. The first of which was Experiment X89. For several reasons, this is the boss I remember the most vividly. First off, this was the boss that probably took us the longest. Secondly, it's a pretty fun fight with fairly simple mechanics. And third, I may or may not have wiped out the entire party that one time. So I think the statute of limitations for this should have kicked in by now. But I wasn't exactly paying attention, and a bomb blew up on me, killing me and everyone around me. Now I'm not exactly proud of this, but no one actually saw who it was that killed everyone. And being the socially awkward dumbass that I was, I decided to stay quiet and not own up to it. Even though I really doubt anyone would have been very mad at me. Again, I'm sorry, Warpigs. I doubt any of you guys remember that, but I figured I'd get it off my chest. After that fight, the rest of the raid went pretty smoothly. We had a 1% wipe on the final boss, but I wasn't really paying attention when they explained the mechanics, so I wasn't that invested into that fight. And after we won the raid, I was elated. I felt like I had really accomplished something. We even took this celebratory picture that I still have to this day. Unfortunately, this was both the beginning and the end of my raids in Wildstar. I think I did do this same raid one more time, but I never got a chance to do the next one. But for a while I kept playing, logging on every day to do my dailies and my weeklies. But eventually the lack of players and lack of content I could do caught up to me, and I stopped playing. And then, a little while later, Wildstar released its last major update, with the selling point being a new progression system. But unfortunately, it was too little too late, and the game was shut down a short time after. But we're not here to mourn the death of Wildstar. Instead, we're here to talk about all the shit it did right, and talk about its potential return. Unlike Wildstar's biggest competitor, World of Warcraft, it didn't rely on the more traditional tab targeting combat. Instead, Wildstar made every attack players did, as well as some attacks from enemies, entirely telegraphed with clear outlines. While this made PvP an absolute chaotic mess, this made every single dungeon feel amazing to play through. Because every attack gives you perfect information, they were allowed to make some of the bosses into total bullet hells, where you have to weave in your own attacks while constantly dodging theirs. On top of this, bosses could actually be stunned. If you apply enough CC to break their shield, you could stop some of their biggest attacks before they even had a chance to get them out. These two things alone made the bosses in Wildstar feel much more interactive than in any other MMO I've played, where the earlier dungeons generally boil down to hit the guy until he falls over. And it's even more pronounced in raids, where these mechanics get woven on top of other mechanics that you have to keep in mind for the specific boss or even the trash pack that you're fighting at that time. And man, speaking of bosses, this game has some great designs. Everything's rendered in this cartoony style that might turn some people off at first, but it makes the game feel so much more distinct compared to just generic fantasy setting number 27, or generic self-insert anime world. It's all in this sci-fi setting that never takes itself very seriously, so you can get the insane late-stage capitalism of the Protostar Corporation right next to the 50s horror-inspired Fragment Zero. There's just so much I love about this game, I wish I could show you more. Unfortunately, like I said so many times at this point, this game is dead, and almost certainly is not coming back. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel. There exists a project that intends to bring back Wildstar in its entirety for anyone to be able to host a private server on. This is Nexus Forever, a group of passionate fans who have done absolutely incredible work getting Wildstar working again. And it's the only way that I've been able to get footage that I needed for this video. They already have a bunch of core systems working in the current build. So, if you're a developer interested in helping this project, or even just someone who wants to see what they've achieved so far, please, please, please go check them out. I will leave links to all of their stuff in the description. Man, I didn't even get a chance to talk about the housing, which is the best in any MMO I've ever seen by a wide margin. And Nexus Forever already has it up and running. And hey, if you watched this far, you probably liked the video at least a little bit, so consider subscribing. It would really help me out.